Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I have another Sims 4 speed build for you, and this one was actually asked for by one of you. Someone commented and asked if I could build a vet clinic with a connected house, and I thought that was such a cute idea. And it came not long after or before we were recommended the home bakery for a single mom. So I thought, you know what, this is definitely a fun idea. I don't think I've actually ever built a vet clinic like at all to begin with, let alone one with a connected house. So that's what we went for here, and we're actually in Brindleton Bay. I figured that was, a good place to put it. It kind of like made sense. And I actually built this whole thing over on my Twitch channel. So if you'd like to join us sometime, the link is down below. They helped me a lot with like figuring out exactly how we wanted to lay this out, like all that kind of good stuff. And we decided to be really cute to go with this like barn look. And since we were like, it just felt like it fit in the area. And then that the house is kind of attached to it. So the barn looking portion of the build, like on the left side, that first floor is going to be the vet, and then the rest of it is actually the house for the family that owns this vet clinic. And it actually ends up being a pretty large house that's attached to it. And we came up with this fantastic yard. Honestly, I am so in love with the way the whole thing came out. Like we end up having like a parking lot for people that are coming to the vet clinic, to have their, pets seen. And then we also have a like dog park area behind the vet clinic. I figured like, especially like if they were boarding pets, that kind of thing, because I know some vets actually do that, so to have a nice place for that area. And we also then have like a separate area for the family, and I figured if you want to download this, like you can lock different doors and that kind of thing to only let like family members in certain areas, that kind of thing, so you don't have random Sims just like walking into your home, which knowing Sims, they will most certainly do that, like without a doubt. So if you download this, be sure to like, lock the doors, that kind of thing. And this is already up on the Sims 4 gallery if you would like to download it under my ID, spicensprinkles, all one word, all lowercase, and down in the description if you want to see it written out. This is also a longer speed build. I've been doing some shorter speed builds lately, so this one comes in at about 35 minutes. So be sure, you're comfortable, you've got a snack, a beverage, and like, cozy in for this speed build and voiceover, but it's definitely worth it. This ended up being such a cute lot and just a bunch of room here. And so the idea would be that you would buy this like vet clinic and you would live on this lot, if that makes sense. So very similar to like the bakery that I did recently, you would purchase it and then just live here. You know what I mean? I think the game requires you to actually have your own like home lot, but you could leave that like empty. You know what I mean? And technically, like I think the way it works, and don't quote me in case I'm wrong, but let me know if I am, just, be nice about it. But I believe then like you would get bills for your original home lot, but you don't have to pay them because like there's nothing there. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to worry about it. So that's kind of nice as well if you want to live here. And we end up doing this for a family of like either one or two parents, depending on how you want to play the household, and 2 kids. And we decided that it would be twin boys, specifically kids. So that's what the room ends up being, and that is like closer to the end of the build, but I thought I'd go ahead and give you a context for like the family we're thinking about. And obviously if that doesn't quite fit the family that you're playing with, you can of course like change stuff around and redecorate a little bit for the personalities that are actually like in your household. And I thought it was so cute putting the little mailbox out front. Like I don't think that's actually necessary, but I mean I couldn't pass up having like a cute little like animal mailbox in the front of this slot. Like I felt like it was pretty necessary. And I will say that the house does go under a few changes in terms of like the windows that you see right there on the front, at least on the side that's like coming out of the barn, because that ends up being the home area. And I had to swap things around a little bit so the floor plan worked out for the best way. And we do actually end up putting a door that connects both the home and the vet clinic. You can remove that if you want, if it becomes an issue. But again, like, locking that space for only like house members can actually go in there, that could work. But I did give that home like an external entrance as well. Like it has its own dedicated space, so you have that option if you want to, get rid of some stuff. And I figured having this really cute gravel, like roundabout, like driveway would be really adorable here for this home. And because we do actually end up in the backyard putting in a like farming, like gardening kind of area. We also have a pond and we also have a chicken coop out there. So we figured maybe having a truck out in the driveway, and we end up putting some like seed and like hay and stuff in it, which we figured, kind of worked out really well. And I think we also put a bee box out there, I believe. Like, we did actually this build on the Twitch channel a little while ago, at least the exterior we did on one build, like one stream, and then the next week we did a stream for the interior. So it definitely was a 2-part build. It definitely did take a while, but I didn't want to actually split the speed build into 2 parts. I have done that before if like the build's really large and took me a really, really long time, but I didn't feel like this one was quite long enough to do that. And I feel like it's more satisfying to actually see the like whole lot done at the same time, if that makes sense. But like, let me know like if you prefer longer speed builds, shorter speed builds, like if you'd want stuff split up. I don't know, I'm curious like if that's something that like you've thought about, or if you have a preference about, be sure to let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And we're also just adding in a bunch of vegetation here because I couldn't help myself. Like, I couldn't help it, y'all. I had to add it all in. We add in a lot of greenery, a little bit of white, and I think we bring in a little bit of red here as well for a little bit of pop of color that goes with the home. And like, I don't feel like, is that normal? Do people usually do their landscaping based off of like the colors of their landscaping based off of the color of their home? Do you know what I mean? Like, is that something that's like normal, or is it just kind of like depends on the person? I don't know, but I feel like I tend to do that in The Sims. And I guess like, the homes like we usually build in The Sims, I say we, but I know I do a lot of times, they're more like ideal, picturesque kind of homes, if that makes sense. Like, whereas like, you probably don't have this much landscaping, that kind of thing. And I couldn't imagine actually trying to keep up with that. And I guess that's part of it, right? Like, in real life, you wouldn't necessarily want all this because you'd have to keep up with it or pay someone to keep up with it. So, but in The Sims, like, we don't have to worry about it, right? So we can have as much landscaping and make it as complicated as we want to because we don't actually have to worry about taking care of that. And I feel like, honestly, this family having 2 kids and like dealing with the vet office, like they've got a lot on their hands, especially when you add in chickens and farming as well. And it's not a huge farm, but it is like a small area. I figured maybe one or both of the parents like might be into that. And I don't know if like if you decide to play with 2 parents, if both of them are vets and like they both like work in the clinic, or how you'd want to set that up. Obviously that is totally up to you. And if you're like, no, there's no way I'm going to be a vet and deal with farming, you can, of course, take that area out or replace it. And we also do put like a swing set out in the back as well. And again, like just working on like trying to figure out exactly how we wanted to outline this area. And chat definitely wanted like to add in a little pond here, so we actually do this, and we have some like ducks on the pond, that kind of thing. Like, I didn't necessarily put a fishing sign in front of it for fishing, but I just thought it was just like super cute and put that in there. But of course, if you want to edit it and fish there, you can of course do that if you'd like to. And I use the swing set. Oh my goodness, I always forget. I think it's the swing set. Is it the campers, the little campers maybe? Oh goodness, I don't remember. Anyways, I really do like that swing set, but we do put that back there. And we also have a super lovely seating area table, like if your Sims had a bunch of people over, and a grill out here as well. So just lots of area for them to hang out in. And you can obviously like add in like monkey bars, that kind of thing. I didn't really feel like there was a ton of room for that, but you can add that in if you would like to. So then just adding in a little more vegetation. And I definitely went into debug. I definitely went into cottage living looking for a bunch of stuff to put out in this yard, and it came together so well. When I started, I honestly really didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I knew I was gonna do a vet, like I knew probably like a barn, because I thought that would be like just really cute, like aesthetic wise for a vet, and but I just wasn't sure like what else I wanted. Like, did these people have a farm? But chat was really like, yeah, they definitely do. And you can actually see so over in the corner, this floating blob of the terrain height setting, you can see it kind of over there. I don't know what happened when I was building, but it just kind of got stuck there after I did some of the terrain stuff. I've never had that happen before. So like, let me know if that's happened to you and how you fixed it, because I just didn't know how to fix it, and I didn't feel like necessarily getting out of my game and going back in since I was streaming. But so that just kind of hangs out there. Luckily it's kind of off to the side, so you don't really notice it too much, but I just thought it was kind of funny, and I thought I'd mention it, that I do know it's there and I don't know why it was there. Like literally absolutely no clue. So we end up just putting in of course, the Scarecrow Patchy over there with the bee box as well. Like these Sims are busy. These are busy Sims. Like they have so much to do. I pulled out of debug a lot of some crops out here, and I will say like those are kind of mostly there for aesthetic purposes right now. Like you would then, replace them with actual crops, but I kind of wanted to fill that in and really give that idea of it being like, something that's being used, if that makes sense. But there are, I think, also some like actual plants you can pull out of debug that actually like end up being planted, if that makes sense, if that's something that you want to do. And I ended up finding these really cute patches of flowers as well, so I kind of sprinkled those about, and I just thought those are really like organic looking and cute, and something that's just super adorable here for this yard. And then we do add in a gate here, and the backyard area for the home is completely separate from the like dog park area. And if you want to, you can add a gate in between the two if you'd like to, but I just thought it would be nice to keep it kind of separate for, the Sims that are actually using this as their home. And then I do add in the little rabbit like tree stump hole thing, and that like little tree that has the birds coming out of it. Again, like I just thought that was so pretty and cute to have that kind of like running around. Like actually, when I was having screenshots, there was actually a bunny on the very front of the lot. So if you look really carefully, there is a tiny bunny right in front of the door to the vet's office, like in those screenshots. So let me know if you can actually see him, but he was so adorable. Like he just came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, that's so cute. And anyways, just adding a bunch of lighting here, and this has been play tested. I can't remember if I've mentioned that or not, but it hasn't play tested. So I'm hoping you don't have any issues dealing with the vet stuff and all that kind of good stuff. Now I will say too, when we get to the vet's office, I was able to test everything except for the 2 exam tables in the surgery. Like I tried to make sure the rooms were big enough. I don't anticipate there being any issues. It should be big enough. But I didn't have any sick pets, so I couldn't actually test that. But the rest of it is totally fine, and you shouldn't have any kind of issues here. And I do add in a couple of food bowls there on the back porch of the vet, and I also end up putting a little seating area because I like the idea of it being a place for like the employees to go have like a lunch break or something like that. And this is actually so funny, and I didn't notice this, but you could see me there. I just swapped out like the hamburger sign. I ended up taking the hamburger off and putting on like the little vet thing, which you can swap those pieces out. But it didn't even occur to me that the backside of the sign could also have a hamburger, and it does. I do swap it out so you do not have a hamburger on the back of that sign, but I didn't notice it until like my second time streaming while I was building, and I was like, oh no, that needs to go. Like that's not it. We don't want a hamburger on our sign. So anyways, I do swap that out in case you saw that or were thinking that. Like I do fix it, so you don't have to worry about it. And then just kind of adding in that lovely dining area that I was talking about. I end up using like a cluster of rugs on the ground, which yes, I know that that's not super practical, okay, but it was incredibly cute. Like it looked so adorable, so I left it there. And it's The Sims, so we can pretend, okay? Like obviously in real life I don't think I'd go put rugs on grass, but you know what, it's The Sims. So, and it just ended up looking really cute, and putting some greenery out there on the table, like it just really gave it a lot of personality, and I liked the way that it turned out. And we end up actually just starting here in the vet's office, and I had a hard time actually figuring out how to set this up. Like this floor plan definitely took me, a few minutes. I ended up, I think, pausing there for a little while because I really just had a hard time. I really wanted to make sure it was a very like full vet office, and that like we have the surgical area, 2 different like exam rooms, and that like lab station thing over in the corner. And I just wanted to make sure that was all there. And I even included an office in this space because I figured that would make a whole lot of sense for there to be an office for the vets. So I do also include a small office in the main house as well, so there is space for your Sims to actually do what they need to do. But in terms of just like setting this up, I just thought that was really cute. And I wanted this space to have a like really comfortable, like homey vibe to it. Like I didn't necessarily want it to look like a living room here in the waiting room, but like we talked about it on chat, like in stream, we wanted it to be like a comfortable place to be thinking about, right? If you took your pet in and they're sick, like especially if they, you know, have to have surgery, something like that, like, you know, a comfortable place to stay, right? And of course, this is The Sims, like that doesn't really matter, but that's kind of the thought process we were going through. Like I also end up in the corner putting in like a little coffee vending machine area. Like I can imagine like The Sims like hanging out and like being there for a little while, which I feel like does happen when I have done gameplay before. Like I ended up being there forever waiting on the vet to actually see my pet. So just adding that in there if your actual sim needs needs a little bit of help and needs like a little snack or something like that. And we do end up having a bathroom in here as well. So there's plenty of bathrooms on this lot. The actual home has 2 different bathrooms, one for the kids and one for the parents. And then this one just has like a half bath here, which I think worked out really well. And we end up having just a small seating area out here. And I went back and forth about having like a receptionist kind of desk, but I know that like you really just kind of check in on that kiosk, so we didn't need one and we didn't have a whole lot of space. So we opted for just doing like a small seating area instead. Again, just going after that really cozy vibe for this space. And I do actually end up adding like a stereo music thing on the wall too, to add in a little bit of like, I feel like a lot of like waiting rooms have some sort of music playing, so I thought that was kind of nice. And just adding in, I figured, you know, the waiting room would have a lot of magazines, and putting in some cute little like cat and dog figurines like in here. And of course they've already announced the horse pack, like, so that's kind of insane. Like I think it would be so cool if like vets could actually take care of the horses as well. I'm assuming that's not gonna be the case, like they're not gonna like mix those packs together. However, like I think that would be kind of cute, you know, to have the ability to take care of the goats and everything like that. And yeah, I mean, since the vets don't take care of the animals that came with cottage living, I'm assuming that's not gonna be a thing, but I just thought that was kind of fun to think about that they could almost do like house calls, because I think that's how like actual vets do that for like farms. Like they can actually go out to the farm and take care of those animals. But anyways, I just thought that was super cute. And also, yeah, let me know, like, are you excited about the horse pack, like that kind of thing? I know it actually has a name and I've already forgotten it. And I will say again, this is another video that I've pre-recorded, so that was like, this is now like at least a week later after the announcement, and I think this is actually going to be going up post the like Sim Summit that we had. And actually right now I don't know if I'm actually gonna make a video, because I'm not going to be in town for that Sims like summit thing, or behind the Sims, or whatever they're calling it. I think it used to be called a Sim Summit, but behind the Sims, where we hopefully will have some more information about things, and we'll probably have a lot to talk about come the week after I get back. But anyways, I just thought I'd go ahead and mention it. I don't know if I'll have a video up about that or not, but I do have a video up about the original like trailer for the horse pack, so if you want to see kind of my input on that, that is already up on the channel. But then in here, just adding in some like, I almost feel like there's a like dog exam room and a cat exam room, because I put the like cat posters in one and the dog posters in the other. And like obviously that's not the way like it works, but I just thought it was kind of funny that there's a room for each of them. And then the like surgical room, we had both cat and dog stuff in there. And like I thought it'd be cute to put some of those medical like supplies over there in the corner on that little end table. But like I know that's not a very like sterile thing to do, like that's not exactly what you would, you know, have in a vet's office, but again, you know what, it's a Sims, it's fine. So again, just like kind of putting some posters around and just really decorating. And I try not to put too much in those exam rooms, again thinking like I really want to make sure your Sims can get around. If you need to, you can delete those chairs. I'm hoping they're going to be out of the way though, but I figured it kind of made sense, like a place for your Sim to sit while their pet is getting examined. And this is the office that I was talking about, and we put that little like cute picture on the wall with the dogs playing Don't Wake the Llama. Like I thought that was super adorable and felt like the vet would have that in their office. And we put some like certifications and diplomas on the wall, because I figured that makes sense for like a vet's office. or like a doctor's office, I feel like they always have like their degrees kind of hanging up, and again, just some paperwork. And we end up putting like a big like built-in bookcase thing in here as well. I figured they would have a lot of reference material and books in order to treat all of the animals, which it always is kind of fascinating to me that, like, you know, like human doctors or just doctors like, you know, they only have to learn about the one body, right? Like all of us kind of have a lot of a lot of stuff in common, right? But like if you're a vet, it's like you have to learn so many different species, right? So many different bodies that vary greatly in how they need to be taken care of in that anatomy. I don't know, I just find it fascinating, like how much goes into being a vet. And also, just as a side note, as someone who has birds as pets, like it is hard to find a vet, okay? Like it is not the easiest thing to do, which I think is interesting. It feels like, you know, it's not like standard procedure to learn about birds, or I don't know if there's like a special like training you have to go through. I don't know if you're a vet or know a vet, if you know the answer to that, like how does that work? But it is like kind of difficult for us to find vets, especially when like that are super knowledgeable, you know what I mean, about birds. And like there's not like after hours like hospitals, emergency kind of places to take them either, like a lot of times there are for dogs and cats. And again, that totally depends on like where you live kind of thing. I'm sure if we lived in a big city that like there we would have more access to that kind of stuff. But anyways, that's totally random, but just talking about like vets in general, my experience with them and having birds. But for the family's home, we end up having the parents' bedroom and the kids' bedroom, like I mentioned, that share. And then the kids have a bathroom and the parents have like an ensuite. And so we end up actually in the bottom floor that actually connects with the vet is where the kitchen and dining area is, as well as the entrance area to that main home. And because of the stairs is why we actually had to swap around some of our windows and that kind of thing. And we made them a little bit smaller, especially to go in the kitchen. I will say we really went in with the red theme and it ended up looking so nice. I was worried that it was going to be too much, if that makes sense, but it does come together. And we end up actually putting in a small little dining table in the like kitchen area next to the counter, which will come up here in a little bit. And I figured it was so cute, like the parents put that there so that the two kids can come and hang out, do homework and stuff while they're cooking and like being in the kitchen. And I just thought that was such a cute little idea. And then we do have like a full dining room table as well, so your Sims can definitely like eat there together. But that's just like a cute little table that we had. And we do end up taking out those top cabinets. It just didn't look quite right. It just looked like too much. But we do end up putting a shelf over there next to the window and putting a bunch of clutter on it. And then I actually go through and like find every piece of clutter I could that would look good in this place. And I end up dumping it like all over the counters. And so I can't remember if I like paused the recording while I was doing that or not. So we're going to find out. So if suddenly there's just like a bunch of stuff everywhere, don't worry. I'm going to take care of it. It'll be put in a proper place. Like we're not just going to have things like all over the place. But I am actually really happy with the way the kitchen turned out. And like I said, I'm very happy that it wasn't like super overwhelming, you know what I mean, for your Sims to like live here and they're just being red everywhere. And like I said, this is play tested. Your Sim could cook and all of that kind of good stuff, so you don't have to worry about that. I know that the like space between that counter and like the fridge and everything was a little bit small, but it does work for them. And I definitely struggled with the dining room space, like how to balance out all of that red while still making it like a cohesive area. And so we ended up putting some red in here, and I'm trying to remember if we kept the red chairs. And like I remember we like talked a lot about getting something that was a little bit brighter on the floor to help kind of counteract that like dark flooring and then like the dark table there. So we end up using that rug there from Get Together, and I think that little bit of red in it helped tie everything together. And we ended up putting some brick there on the stairs, and I thought that looked so cute and a little bit rustic. And the idea also, just very similarly to the vet's office, we really wanted this to be kind of farmhouse, kind of just like really family vibes. Like we put some like chickens around, like that kind of thing. We end up putting that item from Vampire's Pack on the counter that kind of reminded me of like an open cookbook that maybe was passed down from generations. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what we were going for here. So just some of those like farmhouse kind of vibes and just like maybe country living kind of vibes. And I think it turned turned out really nicely. Like, I really do like all the little accents we turn in here. And y'all, I did not realize how many chickens there are in the game. There are so many. And I'm not talking about like actual chickens. I'm talking about like ceramic, like decorative items. Like, as I was going through to decorate this place, I was like, I kept finding more and more. And I was like, I have to use these. Like, where am I going to put them? So one of them does end up upstairs in the living area. And like I said, this is just going to be the dining and kitchen, but there is like a common living space upstairs. And we do have like a really nice open entryway with a table, and we have like some shoe racks, like all that kind of thing, like in here. Cause I figured having a family of 4, you would have a lot of stuff, especially like having 2 like kids, like, and particularly like kid aged, you'd probably have a lot of stuff all over the place. And again, just wanting this to be like this really cozy area. And about the time I was doing the entranceway is actually when I discovered just how many chickens there were. And I know I've mentioned that a lot, but it really is just like, I mean, I just didn't know. Like, maybe it's one of those things like, you know, in one of my recent speed builds, I was talking about that like mallard that I found, and I was like, what? Like, where did this come from? Is this new? And I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I think even somebody commented, was like, I don't think so, but you definitely made me think about it. Like, so I don't know if it's just that I ignore the chickens usually, so I didn't know, versus like now I was like, oh, that would be perfect. Let me use them. Like, that was a whole thing. And also, I don't know if I showed very much of it, but I did move around the entrance of the home as well. Like, it's not quite centered, but I think it looks fine. But we did have to move things around because of those stairs. The stairs were just very tricky to work around, but we use this lovely fireplace here and putting that like wall mounted TV on there, and again adding one of those chickens, and we add some sconces there on the actual fireplace, kind of like they were built in. And I will say we do something a little bit interesting. I don't feel like it's something that I've done before here in the living room area. We actually end up using that corner, one of the corner couches, in like a not cornered space. Does that make sense? Like, this living room wasn't like oriented such that it was like diagonal or in the corner, but like having that like corner couch there was actually super cute, and I think worked out really well. And I end up actually putting a like platform behind it to make it like fit in a little bit better, and then just bringing in, I believe, that rug there with like the red and everything helped kind of wrap everything together. Like, we struggled a bit on stream figuring out how this was going to fit together, because like the best corner couch for this room was that one that had like the green and blue pillows on it. So just figuring out how that all was going to go together. But I think it finally does come together and actually does look cohesive and just like super cozy. And then adding that like horse picture there on the wall, which I thought was so lovely. Again, like somebody who really loves animals like might have that. And actually the room you see there behind that living space, it's actually kind of funny. I figured that would be a good place for maybe a like playroom for the kids, but I kid you not, that was the last thing I did. I was actually decorating the kids' room and like put it like a bunch of toys and stuff in there, and then I realized, like, I was really happy with their room, is when I realized that I had this playroom, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? So that actually becomes like a home office, like kids craft area, so kind of a combination space, which I feel like is realistic for a family home, like actually, you know, having to have multiple purposes for a lot of your rooms. Like, I think that's probably a fairly normal thing to have. And so then just adding a small little, like, it's almost like a foyer space for all of the bedrooms here, but adding in another bookcase and like that large, really nice mirror that we got with the Basement Treasures kit, and the parenting board, because I figured that might come in handy if, you know, you like doing a lot of family gameplay. And then just adding in a fish tank. It was actually so funny. I told my chat that I really wanted to put a fish tank in this, like, technically I wanted to put it in the vet's office, and I totally forgot, and they didn't remind me. So I ended up remembering at this point when I was up in the second story of the family's home, and I was like, oh, well, it can go in here. I think that makes a lot of sense. And actually that was a perfect area for it. So it actually worked out for the best, because I didn't know what to do with that space, and honestly a big fish tank was perfect. And I don't usually use the fish tank, so that was kind of nice being able to actually utilize that item. I guess maybe because it's so large, it's kind of hard to fit in places when it doesn't really give your sim a lot, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like you are actually adding in some sort of like like gameplay aspect or some sort of like skill building aspect. But anyways, just adding in some benches over here by that window. And the parents' bedroom, like both of the bedrooms are actually very large and spacious, which I thought was kind of nice. And I want to say kind of adds to the like kind of farmhousey vibe, but I honestly don't know if farmhouses are really known to have like large bedrooms. So I actually like maybe totally like crazy about that, but it just kind of makes sense. And using those floorboards that maybe look a little more worn, a little older. Like I just really liked the aesthetic that it brought here, and using a mirror over in the corner. And I actually used that collage of paintings, which I really don't ever use because it's just hard to find a place to use those. But I thought they looked so nice over here, and I'm not gonna lie, I really felt like I needed to put something on the other wall. And I think it's just because in this space it just felt like it should have something, but I struggled a lot with what to put there. Like we do end up putting a boat sculpture thing on the wall for a moment. Don't worry, it comes down. It wasn't it. Like I decided that like that was just me not knowing what to put there, so I do move it. And I also remembered at that point that I didn't decorate the mantle. So we took a little like detour and did that, but I end up actually putting the cats and dogs pictures there on the wall. And I think that worked really well there. A lot better than that random like ship thing on the wall was just not it. And then for the parents' bedroom, I actually have the ensuite here, and I do put in like a shower tub combo here, which if you decide to have a dog in this home, you know, you can bathe them, or if you decide you actually want toddlers or infants, you can bathe them as well. So just making sure that you have access to all those things if that's how you decide to use this home. But I will say in the kids' bathroom, I end up actually just using a shower in there because I end up putting a double sink in there for them. I figured maybe it would just be easier if the kids each had their own sink. Like give them their own area, and then you won't have to worry about them fighting over it. And I will say, so I wanted to make it to where the beds look like, you know, the parents went and got them like in a set, you know what I mean? Like the frames are the same, but that each of them have their own personality. So this is the one we end up using. So we have the ones with like the lightning bolts. I don't really know what the theme of that is, but blue lightning bolts. And then we have like the solar system, and we actually end up taking that like soccer like mat and sizing it up. And I thought that was really cute. Like maybe they used it to actually play on, and like especially when they were maybe smaller, it seems like it'd be a really small space to play like actual soccer on when they're kids. But, you know, maybe when they were smaller, they use that. And then just putting like 2 little wardrobes over there. And we end up putting like a scouting board in here as well. And we end up actually swapping this out for 2 desks, so each of them have one. Again, thinking the kids would probably want their own space. And I ended up putting the funky rugs on each part of their room because I figured that like, I don't know, the kid saw the egg and was like, oh, it's yellow, it matches, like, I like the color yellow, like, here we go, so it's there now. So just, again, kind of keeping it, like, fun and interesting, and then just adding some, like, decals and stuff on the wall for each of them. And we end up putting in, I don't even know what that big toy is, but we put it there on the floor, and we end up putting in, each of them have a journal on their desk, and one of them actually has a fish tank. And so I think around this time is probably when I realized that I actually had a like playroom for them. And I was like, oh, well, you know what? I like the way the room is, so we're going to leave it that way. And that's just, you know, that's the way it's going to be. It'll be fine. And then for the kids' bathroom, I actually end up like going with like the blue kind of tone we have on their wallpaper and brought that into their bathroom as well. And I end up using some of the like bathroom clutter kit stuff where we have those like, what are they called? I don't remember. The Void Critter. I think that's what they're called in the game. The ones with that on there, and just having a bunch of that in here, and like they really like it maybe, and so having the towels that match and all the like the toothbrushes, and we end up having this what looks like a transformer to me decal on the wall, which ended up looking so cute, I think, in combination with that towel like rack we had there. And then over here, we actually end up adding in a desk for the parents. I also end up putting an easel in the corner for them. And like I said, it was play tested, so your Sims can get to it, like, and all of that kind of good stuff. And we end up putting in a crafting table for the kids, as well as a chemistry set as well. So they have plenty to do, lots of skill building things. And then just adding in like a chalkboard. It kind of looked like to me like the kids already drew all over it. And then adding a little bit of clutter for the desk and some paintings, I believe I pulled those those out and put them like underneath the chalkboard as well. Like maybe those are paintings that the parents did. So like, I'm not sure if it's a hobby or maybe one of the parents is actually a painter and like that is their profession. Like honestly, I totally have no idea, but I like including some of those skill building items in my builds. But if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye everybody.
Being still if things are well. What facts belong, it's hard to say.